Yes, welcome to the Combatcast. We are live, and also don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what we got. And Chevy, why don't you tell me what we got coming up? We're going to talk about UFC 318 and this coming fight night. But go ahead.
All right, August 2nd, UFC Fight Night, Albazi versus Tyra. That's a 6 p.m. Apex card. And then August 9th, we're going back to the Apex. UFC Fight Night, Dolidis versus Hernandez. That's 7 p.m. Apex card. Couple interesting matchups there. And then August 16th, UFC 319, Duplessis versus Chimaev, 10 p.m. from Chicago for the middleweight belt.
Yeah, I mean, that's a middleweight fight that I'm interested in. I know the co-main event, we don't have a co-main event or anything for that card yet, but that fight, man, I'll tell you, that should be like a wild fight, and I don't know what to expect from Chimaev and Duplessis, honestly.
If it goes 5 rounds, it's because they gassed out. Both of them gassed out, but couldn't finish each other in the first 2 rounds, for sure.
Yes, and we're going to talk about this week. It's about Duplessis. I would say and Chimaev, both of the most impressive wins, probably came over Robert Whittaker, who is in this weekend's fight night. It's Whittaker versus De Ridder, UFC on ABC. This is fun. This is kind of like those old Fox cards a little bit. It's going to be on, I want to say it's 3 p.m. Eastern time for us.
Correct.
Correct. Good. And then it's like a 4-fight main card too, I think, too.
There's a lot of Middle Eastern guys on here because this one's from Abu Dhabi. Yeah.
So before we get to the main and co-main, like we usually do, any fights you want to call out? There's some good fights on this card, I saw.
Yeah, I mean, Amanda Ribas versus Tabitha Ricci. That's a fun fight. Bryce Mitchell's making his bantamweight debut versus Said Nurmagomedov. Very, very tough fight to welcome.
To start off, sure.
Bantamweight.
Nikita Krylov's on here.
Nikita Krylov, Sharputdin Magomedov, the redhead pirate, the one-eyed pirate guy. He's fighting Marc-Andre Barraiault. That's going to be a fun fight. But let's get into this co-main event here. Originally, Aaron Pico was supposed to be on this card against Movsar Evolev, but that's not the fight anymore. So
I wonder if it was a 5-fight main card originally.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't see too many 4-fight cards. Even these afternoon ones usually have a 5-fight. So that makes sense. Okay.
All right. So co-main event is going to be Petr Yan versus Marcus McGhee. Interesting matchup.
Marcus McGhee, 10-1, 8 KOs, 1 sub, 1 decision, 4-0 in the UFC, 3 performance bonuses in those first 3 fights in the UFC that he won, and he's coming off his first decision win of his career in the UFC over a very tough Jonathan Martinez. So great potential here, great upside. He can finish you either way. He can go the distance, I would say, but this is a step up in competition because this is the former bantamweight champion, Petr Yan, who's 18-5, 7 KOs, 1 sub, 10 decisions. Former champion, former interim champion, fight of the night 3 times, performance of the night. This guy's a machine, great cardio, come forward at you, good takedown defense unless you're elite. I like Marcus McGhee, but I'll go with Yan until I see Yan defeated here. McGhee looks strong, so I'll say he goes the distance, but he's going to get tested.
Yeah, Marcus has looked great. We haven't seen that much of him, but like you mentioned, Jonathan Martinez was a big win for him. That's a very good win. And if he can beat Yan, he's in line for a title shot probably. So, Yan obviously been around the block. He had a few tough losses, couple very close decisions that didn't go his way. But recently he's been on that 2-fight win streak. He's trying to work his way back to a title shot as well. So normally I don't pick 35-year-olds with 11 fights to beat a former champ on a win streak, but I'm with you. I'm going with Marcus McGhee today. I think he's going to get a rare decision, though, because it's Petr Yan's a very tough guy to finish. So I'm going to say decision for Marcus McGhee.
All right. We'll see.
All right. Main event here. Interesting matchup. Robert Whittaker versus Reinier de Ridder. RDR.
RDR. De Ridder is 20-2, 5 KOs, 13 subs, 2 decisions. He came from one championship. He was a double 2 weight class champion there, middleweight and light heavyweight. Since coming to the UFC, 3-0, 3 finishes, and he's coming off a performance of the night in the UFC. Whittaker, 26-8, 10 KOs, 5 subs, 11 decisions, former middleweight champion, first Ultimate Fighter Smash welterweight tournament winner. This is a guy, performance of the night 4 times. He's a legend. He's been in the best in the middleweight, and he was either on top or near the top for the last several years. He's probably coming off the worst loss of his career, I would say, though, with Chimaev, where he was submitted early on in the first round. He got caught. Chimaev is a beast, and I think Whittaker is going to be out here to prove something. It's an interesting matchup because the Ridder has looked strong with his grappling, and this last time he looked pretty good on the feet too. But, I think that was because, he exposed Bo Nickel. I like Bo, but I think the experience level, paid off there last time for RDR. So I don't know. It's an interesting fight. To me, I don't want to take away from RDR, but I'm really looking, to me, it's like what kind of Whittaker is going to show up here. And I think it's going to be a Whittaker on a mission to prove himself. I'm going to say Robert Whittaker gets it done, but by decision.
Yeah, RDR looked shaky in his UFC debut, but he is still 3 for 3 with 3 finishes. So Bobby Knuckles is a substantial step up from his previous opponents, though. So,
absolutely.
I just think that Whittaker's fight IQ will keep him safe in the grappling. Obviously wary, being as he was just submitted. And then his in and out, like karate style, will be very effective on the feet. RDR is really long, like he has really long arms, but he's very stiff on the feet. So I think he's going to get hit a lot. So I'm going to pick Whittaker by decision, but I could see Whittaker getting a TKO as well. But I'll pick Whittaker by decision.
All right. So should be a fun fight night. We're working backwards here this week. We want to talk about the fight night because we want to leave plenty of time to talk about UFC 318. Chevy, I will start off with this. How often is it you have a main card with no finishes, all decisions, and you walk away feeling pretty good about it still? Like, I felt like it was a great card overall, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think there was one fight on the entire card that was boring, and it was on the main event. It was on the main card, but even the prelims, there was loads of finishes on the prelims. So it was a fantastic card overall. But all those decisions, but the fights were so exciting. Nobody, we watched the fight together with a couple people, and nobody was really tired or falling asleep.
No,
or anything,
I think we'll talk about it, but I think Pitbull was the one fight that was a little more. And I think that guy was he was playing it safe, trying to get a win. But we'll talk about it. Yeah. I think there's fights before the main card, and I know there's one in particular because I haven't seen it. It was fight of the night. But
we got to talk about Brendan Allen and Marvin Vettori. That was fight of the night. Allen got a decision. Obviously, they had some beef before this with the scuffle, allegedly the scuffle that happened in the casino, and they got to hash it out here. Allen, obviously known as a grappling guy, kept it on the feet. Both guys just kind of kept it on the feet and went to war for 3 straight rounds. They just kept throwing at each other. So I'm a fan of Allen. I'm a fan of both guys, but it was a good fight. It was pretty close, but Allen got the nod. Obviously great for him. He's a Louisiana guy as well. He said he lives only 45 minutes away from the arena. So he got a big pop for that. And, I think he kind of killed the beef they had with that fight. So hopefully they can both go forward. Obviously Vettori, tough on him. He had a rough year. He lost his brother in a fire. And so hopefully he can come back. he did look he still looked good. So, he just keeps losing these fights though. So
see Jimmy Crute and Ryan Spann got victories as well on the show.
Yep. Yeah. Heavyweight Ryan Spann got a victory. Jimmy Crute got that win over Prachnio, I believe. So it was a very good card. Yeah, he got a submission.
Also, random is going to throw this. Manny Pacquiao fought on that same night in majority draw. So Manny Pacquiao,
46 years old.
46 years old, yeah.
Something like that.
That's just thinking for that. We're going to talk about that, but I'm like, man, that bears noting that guy could still.
Usyk also got a win. If you want, we can mention that he knocked out Daniel Dubois. There was some controversy in their first fight. Well, he knocked him out in the 5th round. So
a lot of combat sports was on Saturday.
Let's get into this main card, though. Yeah. Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber.
Michael Johnson is now on a 3-fight win streak, coming off a finish prior to this, and but I think it was almost more impressive. He went to this decision here against Zellhuber, and his speed, for as long as he's been in the game, is just so impressive. So, I don't know what else to say. I'm blown away that Michael Johnson is still able to perform and be near the top here. So I'm gonna, like I always do with Pedro, I want to pick a potential fight for him, and I'm gonna throw a name at you there. And I don't know if this guy will do it, but this guy's been on a losing streak, and I think it'd be an interesting, fun fight. Michael Chandler. I'd like to see Michael Chandler, Michael Johnson, because I feel like Michael Chandler could maybe get back on a win streak and keep himself healthy. Or, all right, no offense, even though Michael Johnson on a win streak, if you're not beating Michael Johnson, then you're probably not going to fight the Justin Gaethje's, the Max Holloways anymore,
Right. Yeah. Unfortunate. I feel bad for Chandler. He was going to get that big money fight with Conor, and it's all just kind of falling apart. That, the big money fight would have made all these losses he's had in the UFC worth it. But obviously that's not what's going to happen. So yeah, I think that's a good fight. It'd be a fun fight. I'd say, I don't even know if he's a favorite at this point. He's just kind of getting pieced up in the UFC. So
right.
Yeah, sign it. Let's see it. But this one was great. Michael Johnson just outclassed, and like you said, speed was the big disadvantage or big advantage. I think Zellhuber kind of overlooked him. If you heard them talking in the press conference, he was calling him an old man and everything. Michael Johnson, 39 years old, still put those hands on you though. So
he said in the corner, "Oh, he's fast."
he said that at the end of the first round. Yes. Yeah. Let's move on to this Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull fight.
Yeah, which we thought might have been a fun fight. We thought Pitbull, would come in here, want to make a statement, and Ige have an exciting style, but Pitbull managed to use his grappling, decent grappling, but probably a safer way to win. It wasn't like a lot of exciting scrambles or anything. Just kind of a fight that was there on a night of really good fights, and Pitbull did what he had to do to get a win. Featherweight division's tough. I'd like to see him step up now against maybe a guy like Josh Emmett.
Yeah, that'd be a good fight. Yeah. I don't have too much to add to this. It was a terrible fight. It was very boring. Neither guy really did anything. I don't want to see Pitbull on pay-per-views anymore.
Sure.
So far, all of his fights have been boring. So
that's why I said Emmett, because Emmett's can probably keep the takedown, from stopping it, and he's got power. So, but who knows?
Throw it on a fight night in the Apex.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to what was another contender for fight of the night, and I do believe Dana paid these guys a little bit extra money. He said so. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez.
Yeah, I thought Holland was going to come back and pull this off, but nope, not the case. Rodriguez really showed something to me here, and the pace he could keep up. With some of the volume punches he was throwing, he got caught himself a couple times, but he never folded. And I'm impressed with Rodriguez. As far as next fights, I'd like to see him. Michael Venom Page, MVP, a striker. I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, any fights against MVP is tough, but both guys hurt each other multiple times in this fight. Both looked so gassed that I thought they were going to get finished at different parts of the fight, but then recovered and, ended up on top in a scramble or whatever. It was a very good fight, but I thought D-Rod did well, and I thought he deserved the nod. Kevin, he got knocked down once, and I just don't think he ever really recovered from that fully. His eyes were really wide, and he wasn't doing a lot of talking or anything like that. So good on D-Rod. He's known, for having the crisp hands and everything, but not necessarily the power. But showcased it here. So it was a good fight. I'm glad they, allegedly got a little bit of extra money from Dana. Well worth it. But let's move on to co-main event here. Yes. Surprising fight. Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov.
Yeah, Paulo Costa was Paulo Costa. That's what I was thinking when I go to this guy, I will say this, for fighting as little as he does, as inactive as he is, and, he just looks the same whenever I see him. He's got that power. He's explosive, but, I don't feel like he's going to beat the best of the best, but I feel like he's dangerous for everybody, and he showed why here. A fight. It was interesting to try to come up with a fight for Paulo because he's fought a lot of the best middleweights, and clearly he doesn't deserve a shot at the title or anything like that, even though I do think a fight with him and Chimaev would be interesting if Chimaev lost. But if not, assuming that for now, Jared Kinnear was somebody I thought might be an interesting fight for Paulo.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I think he has something lined up, but that'd be fun.
Yeah, I haven't seen them fight before, so I was coming up with people, but yeah.
So I think this is the best I've seen Costa since he lost to Izzy. He was fast and aggressive. He mixed up his shots well. He was accurate. He used a lot of volume, which, if you remember last week, I was saying he needed to be the one putting the pressure on and making Kopylov fight on the back foot and not just looking for, one big bomb to land. So he did that. He worked the legs. He landed a lot of body shots. He worked combinations. He cut angles. And even later on in the fight, we were just getting tired. He was getting backed up to the fence, and he was still throwing lots of volume, going in and out, waving Kopylov on. So he looked fantastic. I'm very happy for him because he is an exciting fighter. He's not my favorite personality or anything like that, but an exciting fighter. Glad to see him around getting some wins again. So, I'm looking forward to his next fight. Hopefully he can keep doing that.
Yeah.
All right. Main event.
Yes.
Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 3.
Fun fight, obviously. Exciting fight. It's funny because someone at the press conference had mentioned when we were talking about fight night, he said, don't forget about the main event too, was probably a candidate. And Dana's like, oh yeah, great point. And I thought to myself, it's interesting because for me, but I didn't see the Vettori Allen fight, to be fair. But for me, this was my fight of the night because I was so heavily invested in both these guys as well. And I think that's something that is interesting. And I like to hear people's thoughts on that sometimes, because when you're invested in somebody, that fight's going to be a lot more exciting. And these are two fan favorites, Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, legends. I think we talked about it. Kind of sad, coming to this era of MMA fighters that are going to be getting out of here soon because we kind of watch some of these guys grow up for the most part. Fight itself, man, it was interesting because Holloway caught him early, and I didn't want it to end that early. And I almost wondered if, Holloway was, kind of, nervous, but he did swarm him. But, Poirier hung on. And then I can't remember if Holloway had caught him again, but then Poirier eventually caught Holloway. And I thought, oh, man, Max is out. But luckily, it was towards the end of the round. Max held on, survived. And then
stumbled back to his stool, yeah.
Yeah. Other than the Poirier knockout, I've never seen Max rocked like that, obviously. There's the Justin Gaethje knockdown that it didn't count that Max said should have count, but this was no doubt, right? And it was interesting because even during the fight, I don't think I ever said it, but I kind of wondered, I wonder if Max came back too soon from Ilya. And even now, knowing he got the win, I'm maybe you should take it a little easy, That being said, what a great moment. We saw, footage afterwards with Max's son, where they had showed footage from 2016 where Dustin was kind of consoling Max's son, saying, your dad's great. Don't worry, he's good. And this time, even though Dustin didn't really do Max's son was like, you had a great career, man, and I just thought, wow, these two are really cool dudes. So, yeah, as far as next fights go, One of the things I really enjoyed about this card, and especially the lightweight division right now, is there was so many potential fights we could talk about. And so I'm just going to throw three at you real quick because this isn't even all on the card. But ultimately, I decided I liked the idea of Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira. When I thought about it, even though there's a couple other fights I thought might be interesting, I said, that's probably going to be the most exciting. And Charles coming off that loss, so that, for the BMF title, that could be great. Ultimately, this is the card I would like to see. I'd like to see this as a card UFC. I don't think I'm going to get this, but Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria, UFC lightweight championship. Co-main event, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, BMF championship. Line them up. But feature fight, Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett. Book it.
Yeah, I think those are all great fights. I think, for Max, you want to do Charles because that's going to get him closest to a title.
Mm-hmm.
If you're treating the BMF title like a real title and you want Max to defend it, I think Dan Hooker versus Holloway has got to be next.
The man I left out. I thought about that afterwards because this division is so good right now. And honestly, you could argue that Hooker belongs in there more than Paddy does at this point, but Paddy just has
for BMF, like,
oh, for sure.
Gaethje held the belt. Dustin had his chance at it. Max has it. Hooker is the other person who you think of when you think of BMF. So, I would like to see that one, but part of me wouldn't because that's not probably getting Max close enough to a title shot. The Charles Oliveira one would. And there's a little bit of heat between Max, as much heat as there can be between Max and Charles, because they fought before and, Charles got finished because he was grabbing his neck. He hurt his neck, and Max says, well, they did scans afterwards and there was nothing wrong with his neck. There's no injury, just wanted to get out of there. So, all of those are good matchups, which is, spoiled for choice is a good way to be when, you're trying to make money in the UFC. So back to this fight, though. It was another great back and forth fight. Max's shots certainly had more of effect on Dustin than they did in their last fight because, he still landed lots of volume, but he could not hurt Dustin in the last fight. And he hurt him multiple times in this one. So, both guys knocked each other down back and forth, but it was ultimately just volume from Max and great body work too. He landed a lot of good combinations. The UFC also really did Dustin's retirement well. The video packages, the location, the commentary, picking Max as an opponent was a absolutely genius move. I've been giving the UFC a hard time a lot lately, rightfully so, but they hit it out of the park with this. So
coming off of two great pay-per-views too.
Yeah. So just going back to the picking Max for the last fight. I mean, obviously gonna put on a great fight. The two of them, they could fight 100 times and every single fight would be great. But Max knowing that, and Scott, our friend Scott, called this right before it happened, but knowing that it was Dustin's night, it was Dustin's retirement, obviously DC talks to the winner first in the post fight. And he says, I'm going to be short. I'm going to get out of here. On the, whoever wants it, can come get it or whatever. He had his names. And then he said, I'll let you talk to Dustin. It's his night. He's a warrior. Congratulations to him. DC goes to talk to Dustin. And the crowd wasn't to the correct volume for Max Holloway. So he runs back over, gets on the mic again, calls them all soft, and shows some respect for, one of the baddest motherfuckers to ever do it in the UFC. And he's a legend. And so, that's just the type of class that you come to expect from both guys, really. So, you mentioned it before, coming to an end of an era. And, the UFC, Conor really changed the game where he showed, you make money by talking shit and, having controversy and all this. And so these guys like Max and Dustin have, they're not multiplying like the Conor regen people are. So end of an era. So we need to appreciate these guys while we have them. You know, all the respect to Dustin. He had a close fight. But it's good for the guy who's retiring to take the loss and put over the other guy, as you know, as a pro wrestling fan. So respect to Dustin. Wish him all the best in his retirement. I'm sure, you know, he's going to be out there doing all those things with his foundation and helping the world and you know, taking care of his lovely family. So shout out to Dustin Poirier.
Talked about doing something with Hawaii too, with Max too, I think. So
of course. Classy guys.
I do want to say two more things. I want to work a little bit because I'd be remiss. I was thinking about it afterwards. One, we did also see the point down with the last 10 seconds left. So again, two warriors. And also Dustin, like we said, you know, almost like the guy who's retired should go out with the loss. But Dustin, the true warrior here, he is. And, you know, me talking about, you know, maybe Ilya, you know, maybe Max came back from Ilya too fast. I do need to point out, though, too, Dustin looked in the best shape of his damn fight career coming here. And it was
right.
So, I mean, maybe Max just beat the best version of Dustin that night, and hats off to Max, and the fight game is just tough, and it can go either way. So, anyway, yeah, it was a hell of a night. UFC 317 was probably a better pay-per-view overall because that was just an amazing pay-per-view, but this main event left you feeling good because this was just more of a feel-good moment. So, hats off for the UFC for putting on two great pay-per-views back-to-back at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's tell me what we got coming up one last time.
All right, August 2nd, UFC Fight Night, Albazi versus Tyra. That's a 6 p.m. Apex. Interesting flyweight matchup. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm a fan of Tyra. Keep an eye out for him. Tough fight versus Albazi, though. And then August 9th, UFC Fight Night, Dolidis versus Hernandez. Fluffy Hernandez, always fun. 7 p.m. in the Apex. And then August 16th, UFC 319, Duplessis versus Chimaev, 10 p.m. from Chicago for the middleweight world title.
All right, should be fun this weekend. Whittaker versus de Ridder UFC on ABC. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please like and subscribe.